The world is a construct of our sensations, perceptions, and memories, says Erwin Schrödinger, Nobel-winning physicist. It is convenient to regard it as existing objectively on its own, but it certainly does not become manifest by its mere existence. A baby starts life with basic feeling states, high and low arousal, pleasant and unpleasant. It cries because of yucky feelings in its belly. The parent might ask the baby, even if they can't talk, "Are you hungry?" The child then learns to associate the feeling in the belly with hunger after a bottle or a breast filled with milk removes the pangs. The same is true in how we learn to label emotions. This education is provided by those around us, just like how we learn to walk, talk, read, write, and ride a bike. We are taught outright or through acquired knowledge how to distinguish between similar colors, like the difference between maroon and burgundy that come in the Crayola crayon box. That is, if you get the big pack. Or how to understand what a ball is versus a balloon. They are both round but have different uses. Ideally, we have also learned the difference in feeling states, such as sad and miserable, infatuation and love, or depression and the flu. In advance of a project, an architect might create a model of what they are building, like a new restaurant. According to Build, a digital publication dedicated to the construction and property markets, creating a small-scale model is often the most critical aspect of success. Models of buildings are a way for architects to bring their proposals to life. The details help the client and designer alike. The client knows what they approve, and the model may allow an architect to discover previously unseen flaws or inspire them to take their design to newer and bolder limits. We have an internal model of the world, of which we are the architects, constructed with sensory data as part of the building materials. While many people can view and appreciate an architect's model, we are the only ones who can experience our internal model. When I see a red rose, I don't know if I perceive the same red as someone else. In my experience, I only know the shade of red I perceive. Everything we experience is based on our internal model. The good news is that our internal model is dynamic. Neuronal wiring constantly updates as we learn and develop. How our brain constructs the difference between a ball and a balloon is based on the specific components we learn that make up each. The same can be said for the construction of our emotional responses. It's funny how as children we learn the differences between a ball and a balloon, but not necessarily the finer distinctions between our emotional states. I want to return to the idea that we each live in our construction of the world. Yes, we see a flower simultaneously, knowing it's a flower, because we share the same concept of what a flower is. That is the easy stuff. I'm not talking about the simple experiences we share, but the nuanced ones that occur with people growing up in the same household with the same parents, and yet having a completely different emotional makeup. Even twins can respond differently. This has to do with the plans we were given when we first started constructing our internal model of the world. My dad and sister have the same mannerisms and physical characteristics. Carrie will rub her head or move her mouth in such a way it looks exactly like Dad's. Her emotional makeup is much like our mother's. Her responses, how she is with people, her giant laugh, her empathetic nature, and her lighthearted disposition. As Dad would say, it's in the DNA. On other occasions, he would refer to the gene pool. What's the difference? The Cleveland Clinic describes DNA as a chemical, deoxyribonucleic acid, that stores genetic information and is responsible for building and maintaining our bodies. Genes are segments of the DNA and are what make you the fabulous being that you are. They give us the characteristics that make us different. There are also chromosomes, which give your cells the instructions. all 50 trillion contain the same DNA. Then there are epigenetics. Our genes contain the instruction manual for building a single cell into a human and for all future maintenance. However, those instructions can be modified. Harvard University's Center on the Developing Child discusses the interaction between the gene and its environment. Positive experiences, such as exposure to rich learning opportunities, and negative influences, such as malnutrition or environmental toxins, can change the chemistry that encodes genes in brain cells, a change that can be temporary or permanent. This process is called epigenetic modification. Some of these changes, like exposure to environmental factors, can be passed on from parent to child, or intergenerational inheritance. If it spans multiple generations, it's called transgenerational inheritance. This can impact future generations' health, growth, lifespan, and behavior. For instance, Gillian Mahon and fellow researchers studied the impact of higher asthma risk and lower lung function in grandchildren, even when the mother did not smoke, but the grandparent was a smoker. Their findings, published in the paper Grandmaternal Smoking, Asthma, and Lung Function in the Offspring, the Lifelines Cohort Study. It concluded that grandchildren were impacted by grandmaternal smoking, highlighting the deep-rooted effects of tobacco smoking across generations.